Hourly rate for journeyman lineman right now is $61.56. So we can do some quick math. Okay, we'll do some quick math. Roughly, as a first step or groundman pre-apprentice, you're going to start out at about 60% of journeyman rate. So if journeyman rate right now is 61.56 times 60%, that's basically $37 an hour. So let's just say $37 an hour times 40 hours a week, because it's important to try to live on a 40-hour week, because that's going to be the minimum you're going to get. Anything above that, you should try to put in an emergency fund and things like that, okay? So 40 hours a week at $37 an hour is $1,480. So we'll multiply that times 52 weeks in a year, and that's roughly $77,000 a year, okay? Hello, welcome back to another episode of CTQ. CTQ is a segment I do on this channel called Cruise the Questions. This is where I take your guys' questions that you guys ask me, whether that be in the comment section below on these YouTube videos, or if you email them to austin@bluecollaredu.com, or if you DM me on Instagram or on TikTok. I'll take those questions and I answer them here. It's basically a Q&A, right? There's a lot of curiosity, a lot of questions or concerned about, getting started in a trade, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to apply, what certifications do you need, money questions, all kinds of things regarded about the trades, okay? I myself am a journeyman lineman. I have been in the lineman trade since 2017. Really have worked in the trades for as long as I can remember. While I was in high school, while I was in middle school, all I've done is trade work. I wasn't too stupid to go to college. I just decided college wasn't going to be something I wanted to do. So I pursued the lineman trade. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm now here to try to help you guys, any of you guys who want to get started on a blue collar career pathway. A lot of you guys have questions about the lineman trade. I'm here to help. Please ask those questions. You can email them to austin@bluecollaredu.com or drop them in the comments section below. If you guys enjoyed this type of podcast or type of content, please subscribe if you want to learn more. Like the video, share it with somebody, comment things that you want to see so I can try to help you guys the best way I possibly can. So with all that being said, Blue Collar Edu, we're here to expose, teach, and educate you guys about blue collar career opportunities and how to get started in the skilled trades. So we're going to hop into question number 1. All right, so question number 1 is coming from a guy named Shawn. Shawn says, "Hi, Austin. I don't know if you're going to see this, so I might as well give it a shot. My name is Shawn, 24 years old, from New Jersey. I will explain more about myself, why I'm emailing you in the first place, and want to apologize if this is too long. I came across you in your YouTube channel when you researching about the lineman field/trade. Long story short, I have watched numerous videos of yours. First, thank you for making these, as they are very informational and useful. Want to give credit to you. I watched a video of yours uploaded 8 months ago titled 'Become an Apprentice Lineman, Be Like Nick.' That was the perfect video for me to watch and gave me the push to email you. Well, I am like Nick. Graduating high school in 2019, I wanted to play college baseball, which I did for 3 years at one of my local junior colleges, graduating in 2022 with an associate's degree in business administration. I then transferred to a 4-year school to complete my bachelor's degree in business administration, graduating in 2024. To pay off college, I worked part-time at my local Home Depot. It was here I began to question if I even wanted to stay in an office 8 hours a day, as I began to work with my hands. A year from graduating, I am still looking for a job/career and figuring out my future. So I began researching trades, and one that seemed interesting to me, lineman. While I still am applying for white collar jobs, I began to research more about linemen and what they are and any feedback regarding the trade. This is where a simple YouTube search led me to your page. I am interested in becoming a lineman, but do not know where to begin. From your videos, you answered the question of lineman school and whether it will help. I don't think I want to go down that route for financial reasons, so I've been looking at apprenticeships. Locally in New Jersey, JCP&L and PSEG are the main union companies, but as far as right now, there are none available. If you know anyone or where I should look for, it would be helpful. Should I look outside of New Jersey, like Pennsylvania and New York? I know that some apprenticeships require you to live within a certain distance. Before any of that, should I get my Class A CDL? Will they not pick you if you get a Class B? How long did it take you to obtain the license with knowledge test, road test? How much did the license cost altogether? What should I expect from that process? Do some apprenticeships still pick you if you don't have one if they help you get one? And if they help you get one. Like I mentioned, I am Nick. I am interested, determined, and willing to do this, just looking for the right direction to attack this from and give it a shot. Thank you for your time. Well, Shawn, thanks for the kind comments making about the channel. Appreciate that. Thanks for watching, being a supporter. Oh, let's see. There's a lot to unpack here. Let's see here. Lineman school. I don't know if you decided on that, but you said obviously you're not going to go for financial reasons, which is perfectly fine. Nick did not go to lineman school either, and he's in the apprenticeship right now. Should you look outside of New Jersey, like Pennsylvania and New York? I know that some apprenticeships require you to live within a certain distances. So yes, if I were you, I would look at the NEAT apprenticeship. NEAT 1968.org, I believe, is the website. I can have that pulled up really quick just so I know for sure I'm not getting it wrong. Yeah, NEAT 1968.org. Northeastern Joint Apprenticeship and Training. That is going to be the apprenticeship that covers New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. So that's going to cover the whole Northeast region in where you live. And that's the apprenticeship you should apply for. So if you go to the website, you can see it. Now, you're asking about Class A CDL or can you get a Class B? Minimum requirements for the NEAT apprenticeship: must be 18 years old and have a valid driver's license and be physically fit. You will be required to pass the aptitude test and then appear before an interview committee. You will be required to pass a drug test, and a background check and review of your driving record will be conducted. Upon acceptance, you will be required to pass a DOT physical and a drug screening test. You must have a Class A or B commercial driver's license with air brakes endorsement and M endorsement if residing in the state of New York. You must learn to climb proficiently. You must be willing to work away from home. You should like the outdoors. You must be able to function as part of a highly skilled team. You should like working with your head in your hands. You should have the right attitude in order to complete your training program. You must obtain internet access. So, you're asking, do you need a Class A or can you get away with a Class B? Well, technically, upon looking at their minimum requirements, you must have a Class A or B commercial driver's license. Now, I will say the Class B is easier to get. Okay, so if that's what you're wondering, then if you, like I would suggest, apply for the NEAT apprenticeship, then you just need a Class B. But personally, I would look into getting your Class A, no auto restrictions, with a tanker's endorsements and with air brakes, because that's like the top dog cert for commercial driver's license. You could drive anything except for obviously hazmat or doubles and triples, which I wouldn't worry about that because we don't do those in the line trade. But if you have your Class A CDL, you will be able to drive and haul anything that is required within this trade. So that's why it's a good idea to look into getting your Class A. Class B, you can have that. But then it's going to be some sort of restrictions where you're not going to be able to drive certain pieces of equipment or haul certain loads in the trade. Which, has that ever been an issue for me? No, but I have my Class A CDL, so it doesn't really matter. So I just recommend you look into getting your Class A. Then you don't have to worry about not having the proper certification in order to do something like drive or haul some stuff in this trade. So, but Class B will be fine. How long did you obtain to take the license with a knowledge test and road test? Well, I did mine like 13 years ago, and I kind of did it in an untraditional way. I didn't go to a trucking school. I just happened to know somebody that knew somebody, and I was able to get some drive time and do the test and this and that, and I was able to get my Class A CDL. So traditionally, how it works, if you go to trucking school, it's usually a week or so long class, and I'm not super familiar with that, but I'm sure there is a lot of information online. I would look up New Jersey Commercial Drivers Academy driving school for commercial driver's licenses and see what that looks like. Pretty easy Google search, or go ahead and just ask chat. I'm sure you can get a pretty legit answer. They're going to know more than I do when it comes to that exact topic. What should you expect from the process? Do some apprenticeships, still pick you if you don't have one, and if they help you get one. Some apprenticeships, if you were to get on with a utility, can help you get your Class A, or it'll basically give you a time window of like 180 days to obtain your Class A CDL. In some places, some utilities will help you get it. Like they have their own instructors and things like that, and they will help you get it. But I wouldn't rely on that, because that's like one of the most important certifications that you're going to need to get started in this trade. So do apprenticeships still pick you if you don't have one? It is possible, but I wouldn't go into this trade without having my Class A CDL, or at least my Class B, because I don't think a lot of places are really even going to look at your resume or application twice if you don't have that. So that's from my experience and my knowledge being in this trade for 10 years. That's just what I've kind of seen. So if you're like Nick, Nick quit his sales job and he got a job at a trucking company that helped him get his Class A CDL. And he drove for the trucking company, making money, getting experience doing that. Got his Class A CDL. He had a manual restriction. He knew he had to get that manual restriction removed and the air brakes. So he did what he needed to do in order to get those restrictions removed from his license. And so he did it. You know what I mean? But you could be like Nick. You can go work for a trucking company that offers the ability for them to get you your Class A CDL and go work for that trucking company. I think that one he worked for was Schneider. So go ahead and look up Schneider and see if that's something you want to do. But of course, Nick wanted this bad. Nick wanted to become a lineman. He wanted to get into the apprenticeship. So Nick did what he had to do. And that meant him quitting his sales job, going full in. He's like, I don't want to go to a trucking school. So he just went ahead and found a trucking company that offered you to go work for them, and they would help you get your CDL. Okay, and that's what he did. He did everything he needed to do, mostly probably untraditional, what most people would do. Most people would probably just spend the money, go to a trucking school. He didn't do that. He didn't want to do that. So just be like Nick if you want to, of course. But that Class A CDL, like I told Nick, is going to be the most important certification you're going to need to apply for an apprenticeship. So there's all that. Any means possible, that's going to be the most important certification. So you need to get that, whatever it takes. That's what you need to get that. Okay. I think I kind of answered all your questions in that answer. So if you have more questions, please reach out. But basically, apply to NEAT, Northeastern Apprenticeship Training Program. Get your Class A CDL. Well, vice versa. You're going to need your CDL first to apply for NEAT. And then you go through the application process. And then that's that. So good luck on your journey, Shawn. All right, let's hop into another question coming from Grant. Hey, Austin. Just got my CDL A unrestricted with tankers a couple weeks ago. I traveled out of state to take a groundman call. The call was for URD, Underground Rural Distribution, and I didn't really know what it was. My goal is to be an overhead or substation apprentice in a JATC, or preferably my local utility company or any utility. I'm willing to travel, but I know underground is not the field I want to do. What do you think about underground, and is the experience worth it? The pay is okay, not worth traveling as far as I did, in my opinion. Should I look to get on somewhere else for overhead or substation groundman, or what path would be best for me getting into the field I'm looking for? I've applied for utility and JTC and have an interview lined up for both and have been passing aptitude tests from last year for inside wiremen, so I skipped that. Thanks. Hopeful I hear back from you. So learning underground is going to be something you're going to do in the apprenticeship, so this is good. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not something you're going to have to do. So you're going to learn underground. Underground is part of this trade. In fact, underground is probably like 40-50% of the lineman trade. Okay? A lot of utilities are going underground with their stuff. So underground is going to be where the money's at in the next 5 to 10 years. Guaranteed. So because you don't like it right now, I wouldn't hold your breath, dude, because it's already becoming increasingly more popular because it's a little bit more expensive to put in the ground, but it's a lot more reliable. Forest fires aren't caused by underground. And when there is some sort of forest fire, or if there is some sort of natural disaster, underground is typically fine. So that's why a lot of places are going underground. It's not the field you want to do, but it's a field that you're going to have to learn. So for you, when you go do this interview, and they're going to ask you, hey, so you took a groundman call. What are you doing? Oh, I'm doing underground. Oh, right on. What have you learned? XYZ. Do you enjoy it? You better not say no, because the lineman trade has so much underground in it. That's not the answer they're going to look for. Just because you don't like doing it doesn't mean you don't need to know how to do it. You have to learn it. So I would just say buckle up, stay where you're at, and just try to learn as much as you can and be proficient in it and try to get proficient in it. So is the experience worth it? 100%. 100% the experience is worth it. And it's going to pay off because when you go do the interview, you can be one of two people. You can be unenthusiastic about doing it, or you can be super enthusiastic about taking a groundman call and doing underground. You can be enthusiastic and tell the interviewees, hey, I've been doing underground as a groundman. I've been enjoying it. The work has been, very interesting to learn. I understand the underground is very popular. It's one of those safest, most ways for reliable power. XYZ, talk about doing underground as a groundman. And as much as it may suck, like not a whole lot of people like doing underground. There's specifically people out there who do enjoy doing it because the labor of doing it might not be as difficult as doing other parts of this trade. But it's definitely worth it, and you're going to have to know how to do it. So, should you look to get on somewhere else for overhead or substation groundman? Probably not. I would just stay where you're at right now. Just try to get as much experience as possible. And if you really hate your life because you're doing it, then yes, just drag up and try signing the books elsewhere to try to get an overhead job or substation. That's definitely possible. But remember, the grass isn't always greener. The grass is just greener where you water it. So, overhead can be cool, but you might get a groundman call for overhead distribution, and you might just be the one end up digging pull holes all day long. Does that sound like fun to you? Because there's a lot of groundmen, that's all they do is they dig pull holes. So the grass isn't always greener. You're super lucky, or you'd be super fortunate to get on an actual overhead distribution crew and work as a groundman on one of those crews. Just saying. So I wouldn't hold your breath like you're going to just magically get a substation or overhead groundman call and it's going to be the best call ever. Okay? That's a fairy tale. So I would just water your grass where you're at and just continue to learn, continue to get that experience, continue to make some money, continue to get in hours in the union, and hopefully you get into a lineman apprenticeship. And when it comes time for you doing underground in the apprenticeship, you already know how to do underground, which is going to be awesome. Okay? So that's what I could advise to you, Grant. One more question. Hello, my name is Logan. I am attending the Lineman School of Northeast in January 2026. I will be graduating April 2026. My hope is to have a job secured prior to graduation with a power utility or local union. However, I'm having a hard time getting a ballpark of the income I'd be making in the years leading up to obtaining a journeyman lineman license. I understand this can be vary from state to state and even job to job, but wasn't sure if you had a ballpark pay scale I could go off. My wife and I are recently married and planning to have children. We are trying to plan with being a stay-at-home mother, and I just want to make sure we can make ends meet with me working as an apprentice lineman up until I become a journeyman. I appreciate all your videos on YouTube. They've been very helpful and appreciate your time. Thanks, Logan, and congratulations to you and your wife. Having a family is awesome. So let's talk about a little bit of pay. So I'm going to assume you're in the Northeast because you said you're going to the school, Northeast College. And if we go on unionpayscales.com and we look up the lineman trade and we go over to, let's go to IBW Local 1249 in Serio, New York. Hourly rate for journeyman lineman right now is $61.56. So we can do some quick math. Okay, we'll do some quick math. Roughly, as a first step or groundman pre-apprentice, you're going to start out at about 60% of journeyman rate. So if journeyman rate right now is $61.56 times 60%, that's basically $37 an hour. So let's just say $37 an hour times 40 hours a week, because it's important to try to work to live on a 40-hour week, because that's going to be the minimum you're going to get. Anything above that, you should try to put in an emergency fund and things like that, okay? So 40 hours a week at $37 an hour is $1,480. So we'll multiply that times 52 weeks in a year, and that's roughly $77,000 a year, okay? Question is, in your current living situation, could you live on $77,000 a year? I don't know what the cost of living is in your area, where you're at, etc. But in the Northeast, I can't imagine it's too much different than California, Oregon, or Washington. West Coast, East Coast, I feel like are very similar. So Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New York, any of those areas, I can't imagine is much different than the West Coast. So cost of living is probably not low, I would imagine. And if you could think you could live off $77,000 a year, exactly where you're at right now, then you'll probably be fine. And I think you can. There's people that do it. And if you're worried about, you want to plan on having children, awesome. Remember, with the IBW, you get full health benefits for the family. So 125 hours a month you work, as in minimum 125 hours a month you work, and you'll have your health insurance covered. So dental, eye, full medical, there'll be some life insurance and that type of stuff in there as well. But I think with my insurance, with my recent baby, I probably paid out of pocket less than $4,000. That's out of pocket cost for a little bit of hospital bills here and there that the insurance didn't cover. I think it was less than $5,000 altogether. It could have been less than that. I didn't really pay attention to the bills that much, but remember that if you are working, you will have good medical insurance, so you won't be having to pay for that out of pocket for the most part. So a ballpark scale for you is you'd probably be starting out around $35 to $37 an hour. So just do the math. And once you get in the apprenticeship, if you start at 60% wage, every 1,000 hours, every time you step through the apprenticeship, first step, second step, all the way to seventh step, you get a pay increase. So 60% to 65 to 70 to 75, 80, 85, 95, and eventually your seventh step, you're making 95% of journeyman rate. And obviously when you top out, become journeyman, you're going to be making journeyman rate. So that's the ballpark I could give you, starting out maybe making around $75,000 to $80,000 a year as a first step apprentice. Now, of course, That number can go up significantly depending on storm work, overtime and things like that. That's where the real money is kind of made in this trade. So I'm saying on the low end, $70,000. On the higher end, anywhere you could make over $100,000. But I wouldn't rely on the high end or the overtime. I would rely on the 40-hour week paycheck, which would be about $75,000 to $80,000 a year on 40 hours a week. So hopefully that helps you, Logan, on your endeavors in researching, learning more about the lineman trade. What that pay kind of looks like is that's what you could kind of expect to make ballpark as a first step apprentice in the Northeast. I suggest you go to unionpayscales.com and you can look up the other unions in the area in New Jersey, other in New York, Ohio, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Maine, all those states you can see on there and see what those wages look like for journeymen. And then you can just do the math. Expect 60% of the journeyman rate is going to be roughly the starting wage for you as a first step apprentice. And then you could do simple math, and that's it. So good luck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of CTQ with Blue Collar Edu. I'm here to expose, teach, educate you guys about blue collar career opportunities, how to get started in the skilled trades. If you guys enjoyed this, please like it. Subscribe to Blue Collar Edu for more blue collar education to help you guys on your blue collar career pathways. All right. With all that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next episode.